Today's topic on Woodman web training is general alarming. So I have another job up here, and we're going to pull up just the general alarming information, and this is what a typical user would look at just to get a good overview of what's going on with the system, or more generally to get a good overview of what's not going good with the system and figure out what's going on. So from our main screen here, and you can look at some other training videos to see what all the stuff around the outside does, but there's really only two places alarms are referred to on this main screen, and no matter where you are in the building or whatever you're looking at, the top screen here, or the top bar here, will always have alarms, and there'll always be a side pane over here that has alarms, and the alarms listed on this right hand side is live. So this building is unoccupied right now, so we're not seeing any critical or active alarms. The critical alarms would flash red with the number of critical alarms in the building. The active alarms is going to flash with the number of active alarms. So there can be a whole bunch of different categories. Typically we have default alarms and critical alarms. So critical would be a freeze stat, a default alarm would be a dirty filter. The critical alarms are typically a paging type thing. And the other ones are just for general knowledge and to take action on at some point. So what this is showing over here, critical, active, and then unacknowledged is showing alarms that have taken place and they've cleared themselves or someone has cleared them. There are 255 unacknowledged alarms. That could be anywhere from a day to weeks and weeks worth of information that nobody has looked at. So let's start up here with the alarms tab, and highlighting or clicking on any one of these over here or this will take you to the exact same location. It's just the alarming summary page for the whole building, and you can see our default time range comes up and just says time range. So this is going to show us all of the active alarms going on right now, or I'm sorry, active unacknowledged alarms going on right now, and it'll give you, let's just go through a basic setup of this, the timestamp for the last action. So this isn't when it went into alarm, this is currently when it went out of alarm. This is when it cleared. Its source state, so these are currently in a normal position, which is why they're not an alarm anymore. An acknowledged state, so we have, this is an unacknowledged alarm. You would have one acknowledged if it had been acknowledged. Source is showing the location in the system where this is at. The alarm class, like I just referred to, that is showing whether it's a default, critical, and in some cases we have customers that set up 24-hour alarm class and a daytime alarm class and a weekend alarm class for hitting different service people and things like that. Priority level doesn't really apply. Message text, then this is what would come across a paging service. It would come across your pager or cell phone. This is also if you had emails coming to your cell phone or to your computer, this is what would be referred to in there. So we're going to look into one of these just really fast. If you double click on any one of these, you can open up your alarm screens and see a lot more information based on the timestamp of when it happened. So time span is when the alarm happened. Normal time, when it cleared. The last update. So we could run into situations where some of these have gone in and out of alarm multiple times. So we'll look at one that's done it 6 times. And this is this alarm went into alarm at 6:17 p.m. and its last update was 6:32. So it was really only an alarm for just a short period of time, and then it cleared itself. There's another training video you can look at on how to fine-tune these alarms, so if there are little ones like that that are coming on and off too often, how to fix that type of situation. Alarm history, this is just going back, and this is looking at any alarms, including alarms that have been acknowledged. So let's acknowledge one real quick just so that this makes sense. So over here again we're showing 255 unacknowledged alarms. The button right down here below, acknowledge. And you can see our unacknowledged alarms went down by 1. You can also select multiples at one time if you want to be able to acknowledge a bunch of alarms to save yourself some time. And you'll see it counting down as it's going through and doing those. I would suggest, if you're using this regularly, clearing and acknowledging your alarms at least once a day. You'll get a really good idea of the problem areas, alarms that aren't configured right, units that aren't working right, or equipment that isn't working right. And it doesn't take very long to flush out those problems and get them all working correctly. So alarm history is going to show exactly what we just saw there, except for, I'm going to go to the last 7 days, it's also going to show things that have already been acknowledged, so you can see our acknowledged state is different. The extension manager, now this takes a little time to come up. So once this comes up, these are the alarm extensions everywhere in the building. So sometimes this can take a little while for this report to come up. But what it's doing is showing you every alarm extension in this facility. So we're looking at, like, right underneath here, we have alarm space sensor, and then the WCC space sensor alarm. Well, we could find that same point right here, fan coil 1 alarm space sensor fail. We're looking at that same information. This is just a shortened version of it. So if I double click here, I can go in and see the same information as I can here, and there's another training video on how to modify that information inside there. Database maintenance. What database maintenance is allowing you to take this, we have a lot of information in here, and this is currently listed, currently has a limit of 500 alarms, and this can be changed. We can make it 1,000 alarms, 10,000 alarms, however many you want to keep. But if you want to clear old records, for example, you had, let's just say, Atrium South went bananas and we ended up having 500 alarms on it in one day, you may want to clear that information so that we're just not filling it up with the same alarm over and over. We're well aware of it. The easiest way to do that is either clear all records, which will clear every alarm the system has had, or a more useful one is clear all records before, say, last week. So clear old records, clear all records before whatever date I've selected, and that's how we can clean up our database and make it a little bit smaller. The class manager, this is like I discussed before. You can change the class right here on the alarm extension from default to critical, but up here is where it gives you a reference of how many things are in each one of those alarm class, how many are open, in alarm, unacknowledged, which is the same place where this information is coming from. And there are situations where we have 5, 10, 15, 20 alarm classes with different people getting different types of alarms, and this is a good summary to know what's going on. The instruction manager doesn't get used very often. In fact, it's been taken off of a lot of systems. The instruction manager gets used to give instruction to, say, security personnel. So unoccupied alarm of some kind comes to security personnel that doesn't know how to work on HVAC equipment. It'll send them instructions with the alarm telling them to call this mechanical contractor or this control contractor in order to fix whatever is broken. The last thing I wanted to show on here was under services and the alarm service, view, and the property sheet, and the web interface would be very similar to this. You'd see it the exact same way. Right up here, capacity. This is showing how many alarms we are going to hold in that database. So by default, they all have 500 alarms, but you can pretty easily change that up to 1,000, 10,000, 50,000. That is no problem at all, but I would highly suggest using the database maintenance more often so that you're not holding a whole lot of irregular, unuseful alarms. So I hope this has been helpful on explaining how the alarms of the Woodman Controls Tridium Niagara system works. If you have any